As you will have noticed, I added on there about Section 106 monies at the bottom. I would like this added to, for a report. Might not get a full report, but I'd like it added to our next meeting, which I believe is in April. We may not get a full report. I appreciate time constraints. For me, I would like a full breakdown in funding received and unspent, which area this was from, or which development it was from, what was it earmarked for, both committed, as in for specific schemes, and uncommitted, and what Section 106 is yet to be realised and still to come in. Would any other members wish to speak on that?
Can I just pursue that? Because I had an email out of the blue last week, or before last, inviting me to an Astley Bridge member meeting about some 106 monies which have been allocated for land at Waters meetings of public realm. We've had a very broad discussion, and I wonder whether your movement has preempted that, or whether this is part of a wider work within the authority. And I really would like clarification, because as far as I'm concerned, in Astley Bridge, that is not the only 106 monies which have been required. And why this has suddenly come up, I am perturbed, because if there is more, we'd like to do a bigger project rather than piecemeal. And I think it's valid that we actually look at where we've aggregated 106 monies and how they've been applied, particularly in the areas of health and education, which are often, for major developments, the larger part of 106. Public realm is relatively minor. And I think it's actually important. We've asked for it through planning process in the past, it's not come. So if place scrutiny can't deliver it, let's see if audit can.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. That specific Section 106, because you've been asked to go to, I have no idea where that's come from. No, it's fine. It's important. I requested this last year from the leader that we had a full Section 106 review. I think some work has been going on in the background, because obviously part of the green spaces money's come from it. So they've been doing some digging. And then, of course, the Liberal Democrats within their budget amendment also brought it up as well. And I think it's like I said, I think it is an audit function. I think we need to find out where this money is. I asked about it, like you. I discovered there was a large amount of money from a Section 106 from Victoria Road in Horwich that had still been unspent many years later, and it was earmarked for local parks and green spaces, but was being used for park maintenance rather than actually providing a replacement. So that was the premise of why I wanted it. And of course, with so many developments throughout our areas, then it's only right that we have oversight of what's happening with that fund rather than it's been sat there. I think we're on about £8 million sat in the pot, between 6 and 8, roughly. So, Councillor Hayes.
Yes, thank you. Obviously, glad you referred to our amendment, but there's another issue I'd like looked at. I've been concerned a while that we're actually not getting all the 106 monies that have been agreed that we get. And this goes back historically quite a number of years, actually. Now, that's a big piece of work, and I'm not sure whether that can be dealt with, but I think we need to look at those procedures, that we do chase it up and it's used for what it was meant to be used for. I've got one particular case in my ward where I know it was going to be charged, but in fact the works that were supposed to be done with it were never done. So I'm wondering what's happened to that money. But that's probably too big an issue to look at in the entirety. We do need to look at the procedures for that.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Hayes. I absolutely agree. I think I've put that in there, that 106 section money. Of course, as we know, when it comes to planning, they always can do a viability later on, because Section 106 is paid at various stages of a development. I prefer CIL, Community Industrial Related, which is paid up front. So there's no getting out of it then, in my opinion. So, Councillor Walsh?
Yeah, a slightly wider issue with 106, and again, something we've discussed at planning. It is where variations come in. I'm not going to recite the one we had at the last meeting, but where the variation comes in for a 106 agreement. And they do not always come through members. Often they are recommended by officers. And I just think we need to look at the transparency. There is planning committee and the council therefore put a 106 in place, all aspects of it really ought to be delivered, or justifiable reasons why not, adduced and confirmed at member level. So I think it's a slightly wider issue than just the pounds and pence of it, as it were.
Yeah.
Councillor Haig.
Can I go on from that? I mean, the case I sort of obliquely referred to earlier, there's another complication. In fact, it was discussed widely at committee what 106 would be given or what it would be used for. But the decision was then delegated to the director, which meant basically the director and the developers negotiated. And we, as Councillor Walsh says, there's no trail sometimes of what happens. Committee thinks it's going to get a certain amount of money for things, and then the director, not talking about the current director, who's gone back a long time, actually agrees with the developers that possibly it's not reasonable to charge all this, or that perhaps it's something else should be used, and you get the aspects of viability of the planning application that comes in. So it's a very complicated situation for audit to look at, but I think it needs to begin to look at those sorts of issues.
Councillor Mott.
Thank you very much, Chair, and appreciate that and the comments as well. I think we could probably possibly get into the realms of what we want to discuss at the next meeting.
So thank you very much for all your contributions there. So I'm moving that we add this to the next meeting and get at least a preliminary report, which will be in conjunction with Finance and the Planning Department. Can I get a seconder for that? Councillor Walsh, all in favour? Don't need to take a name vote. No. Okay, that's passed.